Hello, welcome to the Producer Joe Show. Sorry, I was pushing buttons on my side. So episode, what is this, 11 uh, of the Producer Joe Show. Sorry, I got a lot of buttons to push and I need a producer. But anyway, today is a very special guest, definitely a longtime radio and TV veteran, somebody who I respect a ton and who is very well respected in the business. I bring to you Dave Mason. Dave, hello there.
Hello, Joe,
Hey,
and
there
thank
you
you for
are.
having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Good to be
absolutely. I'm
here.
glad you're here. We talked about it a couple weeks ago at Shotgun's house, and here we
Yep,
are. We're doing it.
we are doing it. Here we are on the Producer Joe Show. That's very cool. Very cool. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting here in my home studio, which you can tell if you look behind me is full of clothes, and it's not
My
a dry
clothes.
cleaning store. It's it's the Mason family closet because of
I
the
was waiting for it to
acoustics.
start
No, it's not going to do that.
circling around.
No, it should, but it won't. We haven't gotten that far yet. But it's the acoustics here are very good, and I do a lot of work from here. Fortunately, nobody has put me in mothballs.
Well, I know you are working on something, and we will get to that later
Eh,
in the show. Anyways, radio, maybe even television. Uh, Back when it all started, you could have been a coal miner, a shoe shiner, a door to door vacuum salesman. Why radio?
well, actually, I almost went to work for the Eastman Kodak Company.
Hmm.
Radio fascinated me, and I can thank my sister for this because at one point, my sister got one of those 45 RPM changers for her birthday. And if you don't know what a 45 RPM changer is, look it up. It's a record player. It played vinyl, a little 47-inch 45s, and she brought them home. My dad got it for her, and she brought home Buddy Holly and Elvis Presley, and I thought, well, this is kind of cool because I would hear these songs on the radio. And I thought, I'm not really sure how this all works, but this would be nice to be able to do this. She came home one night from a date. She said, I went to a radio station in a house, and the guy was on the air, and he had a big nose. And I knew who she was talking about because I'd heard the guy, and he sounded like he had a big nose. And the truth is, there was a radio station in a house. Well, you can fast forward to 1958 when my mom got remarried. We moved to the suburbs. We were a mile and a half away from that house with that radio station in it. And I thought, I've got to find out what this is all about. And we went and visited. And a buddy of mine and I went. And that was it because I realized that they hired people off the streets to work at this radio station. And I know you have a picture of me just sitting there on the summer afternoon of 1967, sitting in the studio of this radio station. There it is, right there. It was WSAY in Rochester. You could see the Shell No Pest strip hanging from the light because the place was infested with bugs. It was not a great place to work, but it was a wonderful experience. It really was. And we were out in the middle of nowhere at the time. And people would drive by and honk their horns, and we think, well, this is very cool. And here I am sitting there, just a wise kid, senior in high school at the time, trying to convince people, hey, there I am. I'm the guy. And I wasn't really the guy. In fact, just a quick thing. I could take time off from school and go to work at the radio station. And when I first did this, I was afraid that somebody would hear me. Nobody ever said a word. Not that I was bad. It's just the station was not that good, but it was a
Right.
great learning experience.
Looks like the curtains are falling off the wall.
Yeah, they were. It was like I said, it was not. We didn't even have air conditioning at the time, so
It's a little bit grainy of a photo, but is that the Beach Boys album I see there on the right hand side?
yep, that's the Beach Boys Summer Days. Is that? I think it's Summer
Yeah, it
Days.
looks
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was taken with the Kodak Instamatic camera. This was Rochester, New York, the home of Kodak. You had to have a Kodak Instamatic camera at one point. And the young lady who took that picture was a classmate in high school, and sadly, she passed away last year. But I still have the
hmm,
picture, so I
yeah,
still think about Patty every day when I look
it's
at
a
that
great
picture.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so when the fascination did begin with radio, whenabouts was that? And did people that you listened to influence you to go and want to do this?
Yeah. all of that. I probably, when I really first got interested, I might have been 5 or 6 years old. And I would sit there in my bedroom and play the records and go, I'm pretending that I'm on radio. And sometimes my next door neighbor and I would pretend on a TV because we would build a camera out of a cardboard box and the toilet paper tubes to look at it, act as the lens. So, and just as a young kid, we thought, wow, this is fascinating. And we were fascinated. In fact, one of the kids from up the street ended up on the local kids show. And we thought, we were really jealous
Sure.
of him. But we
Yeah.
wanted to do that. And yeah, I might have been 5, 6 years old, at the earliest. And then when I think it was 58, I would have been 10 years old when we moved to the suburbs, the radio stations. There were actually 2 stations nearby. And the other one I would visit frequently. I became friends with one of the engineers who, unknowns to me until I met him, had visited my uncle when my uncle worked in radio back in the late 40s, early 50s. So
Right.
it was kind of meant to be.
I think I can kind of relate to what you're saying because I know growing up, I would listen to the Padre games and I had Jerry Coleman on there and Bob Chandler, and I would record the games and then I'd listen to them all over again that night because I just loved all the nuances of how it was put together, and that had to do with radio also, radio
Sure.
in general. It's just a whole, it's magic to me. It always has been, and I'd
You
say
know,
that. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that the beauty of it was we would listen to the local team, and when the local team was away, the announcer, Tom Decker was his name. He'd sit in the studio, and you'd hear the ticker tape going on in the background with the plays. And every time there was a hit, he would hit a block of wood with a hammer, and you get the sound of the hit. And the engineer would play the sound effects of the crowds increasing. I mean, it was all magic. It was all theater of the mind.
No, I love that, and that's one reason I love listening to sports when I was younger. I had a great theater of the mind, and I was kind of a lonely kid, so I had nothing else to do.
I think
So
a lot of us were lonely.
I would say that's worked out pretty good for you as opposed to if you had been a door-to-door vacuum salesman. So things have worked out pretty well for you.
Well, I went to Eastman Kodak and applied for a job. And the guy who interviewed me said, "What are you doing now?" And I told him I'd been working at that radio station for a little over a year. I was looking to see what else I could do because I really wasn't making that much money. And he says, the look on your face when you talked about what you're doing leads me to believe that you want to continue doing what you're doing. Says you don't want to work here. And when you worked for Kodak, you were set for life back then. They had
Sure.
annual bonuses. You had a pension. I mean, you had everything you needed. Of course, in radio, you don't have any of that. So,
Oh yeah.
but he was right. I mean, I continued to continue and really traveled all over the Eastern United States for the first 30, well, almost 35 years before I came out to the West Coast. So,
Very good. And I'm glad you did.
no, I am too, truly.
So these last few years here, what you been up to?
Let me see. When I left Odyssey, which was Entercom at the time, downsized along with a couple other people. I worked weekends at KFMB FM before it was sold to now what's the local media of America. And we were supposed to continue there except of the pandemic, which pretty much shut everything down. So since 2005, I've been working with KPBS here in San Diego as one of the pledge hosts. And although we haven't done TV in the last 4 years, we've done radio. We've done radio from right where I'm sitting for the last 4 years. On Thursday, we start with another. Oh, that's the KFMB staff. And let's see, who is left there?
I see Rick Lawrence, Mike Vasquez,
Yeah.
Cantori.
Yeah. Cha-Cha.
Look at, I recognize the guy on the right there. The
Yeah.
elf
Yeah.
ears. Robin
Yeah.
Roth.
Yeah, and Robin. Yeah, as far as I know, none of them are in the business today. I'm in the business. I mean, I'm very fortunate because of the KPBS connection, and plus I do TV in Los Angeles.
A couple weeks ago, I don't know what that was.
Sandra Bullock, are you watching me on TV in LA? I don't.
I'm
think
sure
of that
she's
much.
watching this show. I'm sure she is. Hi, Sandra.
Yeah, And when we come in with the pledge drives, I'm sure she goes away, or maybe not. Who knows? But I've gotten to meet a lot of some pretty good people through the PBS connection as well. Met the B-52s. We did an event with Andrea Bocelli at the Hollywood Bowl a couple of months ago, and Michelle Phillips was there from the Mamas and the Papas, and that was kind of nice.
Look at that.
There she is now, and she was just very sweet, very sweet.
Good.
Couple of things happened here that are in a way good, in a way not good. Jan and Dean, if you remember them, Jan and Dean appeared at the East County Performing Arts Center, and I don't know the year exactly off the top of my head, but at the end of it, I had met Dean before. We did. I've done 2 shows with Jan and Dean, and in the second show, Dean said, "I'm not sure we're going to be able to continue because, as you know, Jan had a car accident back in the '60s, and one thing that was not affected was his ability to sing. So Jan and Dean continued to tour, of course. Well, 3 weeks after that show, Jan passed away. And shortly after that, I got a note from Dean saying, "Hey, you emceed the last Jan and Dean concert ever. Who'd have thought?" I thought, wow. I mean, that's pretty deep. But Dean is a great guy. Jan, sorry to see him pass away. But the real irony of this is the guy who wrote Dead Man's Curve, which is one of their big hits.
Yeah. His
name was Roger Christian. Roger Christian, back in the 50s, worked at the radio station that I worked for. We didn't work together, but he worked there first. And when he came to LA, he became one of the original boss jocks on KHJ. He also became a songwriter, writing with Brian Wilson and with Jan and Dean. So connections are there somewhere. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means.
Well, radio. We're going to stay on the topic of radio for a little bit here.
Please.
What's the future of terrestrial radio as you see it?
That's a good question. Things got thrown really for a loop back in the 90s for a couple of reasons. Number one was the consolidation. When President Clinton signed the consolidation bill, and radio companies could, first of all, own 2 stations on AM, 2 on FM in any given city. And then it became up to 8 stations, which is 5 FM, 3 AM, or the other way around. And when consolidation happens, as we all well know, they go for cost cutting. When they go for cost cutting, people's jobs get eliminated. You can couple that with the internet. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I don't listen to radio. I just stream. I listen to Spotify. I listen to Sirius XM. And all well and good, but you don't get the same connection. So what is the future of terrestrial radio? I think it's keeping that connection that will make it happen. That's radio being live. I listened today during the eclipse. I punched around at stations around the country. And even in my hometown, there was one station that covered the eclipse. The rest of them just continued like nothing was going on, which is kind of embarrassing for radio.
Sure.
So, yeah, the future is just to keep that connection. The future is for, I think, for corporate radio to go away. I really do. When I got into it, every radio station had an eccentric owner. And now you have big corporations with an eccentric leader who there's no way that they can provide a service to the community. And nobody has taken that over. Streaming has not taken that over. You don't find it there. So, and of course, the commercial breaks are way too long. But the future is to fix it. Will it be broadcast radio or will it be streaming? I don't know. I'm guessing right now it's probably going to be more digital than anything else, but it's got to be live and it's got to be local. It's got to be for San Diego.
Yeah. I can't agree with you more. I know Kogo and KFMB are very strong at the local angle, especially when there is something major going on. They still got it going on. I say
kind
KFMB.
of. It's KGB now, AM.
Yeah.
You're talking 760.
Yeah.
And they've kind of thrown away 1360 by making it all syndicated all the time. And
right.
The sports stations are great. Do we need 3 sports stations though? I don't think that's the way it's going to be. I mean, KWFN, Odyssey has got the Padres right now, and they do well during Padres season. And I guess iHeart has got, well, nobody's got the Chargers here. That makes sense. But they do carry the Chargers game, I guess, on 760.
Right.
But the Chargers aren't here anymore. So, it's a tough one. That's a tough one. But sports radio seems to sell. It seems to sell a lot of commercials. And you've got the sports networks that are keeping them going crazy. But again, it's not local. And without a big-time local team, you're going to get a 0.1, a 0.2, a 0.3, 0.5 share in the ratings. So,
yeah, losing the Chargers was huge for a huge impact on radio, as was the pandemic.
The whole community was, I think, affected by the loss of the Chargers. I still think so.
No, you're right. Tell me about some of the memorable people you have worked with.
Oh, gosh. We could start with, there was a guy I worked with, was in college at the time at Cornell University. His name was Tom Birch. And back in the 70s and 80s, he started a ratings company. His ratings company went head-to-head with what was then Arbitron, which is today called Nielsen. And his ratings company was doing so well that they bought him out. So he's a very wealthy man. I worked with a guy named Greaseman. And I met Grease when he was just graduating Ithaca College. And Grease went on to fame and fortune as really one of the top syndicated disc jockeys around the country. I don't think he ever made it to the air here, but he was giving Howard Stern a run for his money in places like Washington, D.C. and in Florida. And there's this Irwin guy, Kelly, Shotgun Tom Kelly. That's it. Shotgun. And there's Shotgun on the set of one of his TV shows. I guess I don't know if that was a telethon or what.
That's Words of Poppin', his TV show.
Oh, okay. It was on Channel 10. Yeah. But if you look at the bottom, it says Mason takes WBBF. And this was October 1979 when I was returning from Pittsburgh to my hometown of Rochester to the big top 40 station there. And it was a big top 40 station. But again, the irony of it all, I'm on the same cover as Shotgun Tom. And
when worlds collide,
I didn't know I'd ever meet Shotgun at the time, but gotten to meet him, got to know him. He's a good guy. I would like to think we're good friends, and I hope he feels the same way. We worked together at K-Earth for a whole year. And, so that's kind of the fun things about the people you get to meet. But yeah, I've met a lot of people in the business. One of my friends is the radio station owner in upstate New York. And we had worked together since he was a senior in high school. So to see people grow and move a lot further ahead than I did, it's impressive for me.
Yeah, you've held your own weight. Trust me, you're very well regarded. You mentioned the 70s. I have look at this great denim jacket right here.
What do you think? That's Pittsburgh for you, man.
Yeah.
That was great. That was my first step into the big time. Pittsburgh at the time, I think, was the 21st market, the 22nd market. It was a big city back then. Not quite so much now, but.
Is that your first headshot?
And I like the mustache.
Yeah.
No,
that's solid.
Actually, it's better of a lot of them though. I have some other ones that I refuse to show because they're so bad.
Your hair is very tall there.
Yes, it is. And that's when I had a lot of it.
And Pittsburgh as well. You mentioned look at that pose right there.
I think it's the same jacket. Come to think of it,
that was your universal wear.
That was it. We had it was a great radio station. At one point, they came in and knocked off the competition within about 6 months. Of course, by the time I got there, and again, radio is always changing. By the time they got there were new owners. And the new owners said, we don't really need to spend all this money. They went, oh, okay. So they cut back on promotion and they cut back on staff. And that radio station today is nothing as it used to be.
We should try to call that Victory Sportswear, see if they answer.
Yeah, really. 226. Interesting. I never got anything
Um,
from them. I should have gotten the denim jacket from them, but
You
I
mean it's
didn't.
not hanging behind you that I see like the
No, it's
second and
I
third one
did.
in?
No, I don't think so. No,
Oh, darn it.
I know it was a while
Um,
ago.
what? Tell me about your greatest accomplishments. I mean,
Oh,
you
there
got to
have
have a
been.
whole litany.
I don't. I think the greatest accomplishment right now was getting to San Diego. For me, it was. I'd never been in any city longer than 2 years, even the ones that I came back to twice. And excuse me, Phlegm at 11. But I came out to San Diego. I was in the Army. My last year in the Army was in the Central Valley, in a place called King City. If you've ever been, you realize that it was not the best place to be for a guy who really wanted to be on the radio. But I was in the Army, so I had to go where the government sent me. And when I left, I said, I'm never coming back to California. It was full of ranches. It was 50% farm workers, people I really couldn't relate to. So when I went back home, I said, not going back to California. Well, 8 years later, I came out here to a seminar to the Hyatt Islandia here in San Diego. I thought, well, this is a totally different California than I dealt with for my last year in the Army. I said, well, someday I'd like to live here. And 20 years later, thanks to Clear Channel Communications, there was an opening at 94.1 KJOY, and I took it.
Nice.
And here I am. So to me, that's a big accomplishment.
Absolutely.
The other accomplishment, really, working with two incredible animal organizations, the Helen Woodward Animal Center and the San Diego Humane Society, working with KPBS, working with PBS SoCal and SoCal Plus in Los Angeles. I mean, a lot of great things have been handed to me, and I do appreciate them more than I think even I realize, because they're so great. There's the crew and Elizabeth Alvarez from now Fox, because at the Hope Telethon, that was probably 3-4 years ago.
Helen Woodward.
But now, of course, Fox and KUSI are all together. And, Elizabeth is back in the fold there. But and I've met so many great people. There's so many great people in this business, in this town. And I think I like the whole thing. And you know this when we have the reunions, just how nice people are to each other. There's no competition then. There really, even though we're on the air trying to beat each other's brains in, but now it's all camaraderie, and we have an utmost respect for each other.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do every year is our reunion, seeing everybody come together and hearing the stories. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. And remember the time when, we do a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, everyone has heard regrets. I've had a few. I think it was Milli Vanilli, or was it Frank Stallone? Anyway, do you have regrets?
There was Frank Sinatra. It was,
oh, darn it. I got so close with that.
I did it my way.
Wasn't Milli Vanilli? Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure of anything anymore. I don't know if I have any regrets. I've looked back on it. Have I made some silly moves, some not smart moves? And I think the answer to that is yes, but I can't say I regret them, because, they say if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And I've gotten a lot stronger over the last years.
Yeah. Was that
You
the
know,
cough
all the
button?
years,
I think
so-
you stepped on the cough button. I didn't hear the number.
I did. No, it was the last years. Yeah. 76, by the way.
What's a fun thing you like to do on your day off? Do you get days off?
We do get
go
days
out
off,
into
as a matter of
the
fact.
oxygen?
And on Wednesday, my son and I will do what we do every week, which is head over to Parkway Lanes in El Cajon, and we'll join the bowling league we're in.
Oh, that's fun. I love it there.
Yeah, it's we used to go to the Poway Fun Bowl, and then they closed it. They sold it, and we kind of missed it for a couple of years. We missed it during the pandemic, so we've headed to a couple of different places. Went to Parkway and thought, wow, this is very cool. And it was fun people, and the place is massive, and it's not that expensive. So, for $30, the two of us get to bowl, and then we'll spend another $15 on a pitcher of beer and just enjoy the afternoon.
Yeah, once you step in there, the sight and even the smell a little bit kind of brings you back. 'Cause my parents were in bowling leagues when I was a kid, and just totally brings me back like some
Yeah.
sort of I just stepped on the cough button years. But it's fantastic. Friend of mine, Donna, she's one of the managers there, and they have a really, really great staff there, and it's a lot of fun.
I used to my first job was at a bowling alley. So,
Really?
and I wasn't a pin boy because they had replaced them with machines, and I was fascinated with the machines. And I said, I'd like to learn how the machines work. And by the age of 13, I was starting to get paid $1.25 an hour to fix those machines when they broke. So
Wow.
that was
You
exciting
saved
for
that
me.
money.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me about some fun people that you've met along the way. You're not allowed to say me, by the way. Tell me about some
No,
fun
you
people
are a
you've
fun people.
I
You
am.
are.
Can I
Let's
get that on
see.
tape?
Yes, you can. Phil Collins,
Ah.
Tina Turner, Elton John,
Oh,
Judy
wow.
Collins, like 3 times. And Judy Collins actually came to the radio station once. I
Hmm.
thought, well, this is very cool. And she has no idea. When I was in the Army, one of the fun tapes I got was Judy Collins. Who knows where the time goes? I still have the reel-to-reel tape. I do have a regret. I didn't get to meet Paul McCartney. But it
Oh,
wasn't a big regret because we were supposed to. Linda Welby, if you remember Linda from
yeah.
1090, Linda and
Love
I worked
Linda.
together. We did the morning show in Cincinnati for a couple of years, and Paul McCartney was coming through. We had it set up that we were to go interview Paul McCartney, and it also happened to be the night of my son's very first ever baseball game. Now, anyone with kids would know Paul McCartney, son's baseball game. Guess who
Yeah.
won? Yeah, but Linda handled the interview so well. They said she had 10 minutes to talk with Paul McCartney, and at the end of 10, his producer tried to wave her away, and Paul waved him away. So she got 20 minutes with him. So, she did a good thing. Who else did we meet? Oh
I love
gosh,
Linda. Just side note,
yeah.
Linda's one of the best. She's her husband is in a yacht rock band, and we're gonna try to catch them.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah,
I have to touch base with her again.
Band Overboard is the
Band
name.
Overboard. Nice. I have commercials of they did commercials with Linda and I way back in Cincinnati back in the day, and it was kind of fun. But we had fun working together.
Yeah, no, she's great.
But yeah, the Paul McCartney is the one regret that I did not get to meet him.
There's still time.
Maybe someday. You're right. Maybe someday. I did meet George Harrison's sister,
Well, that counts for something.
Louise, and she was great. I have a video on YouTube of an interview we did when I was with was it the Walrus? No, it was Max FM, I think by that time, with a book she wrote, and sadly she's gone.
Yeah.
But even more sad, George is gone. But yeah, I've
Well,
run into a lot of people.
the
I should make a list.
you should write a book. Is really what you
People
should
are
do.
saying I should write a book. Yeah, I should write a book, but I can't. I have to narrate the book then.
So where does life find you today? What does Dave do? What does he do?
Well, sitting here in Scripps Ranch, we have 3 dogs. My one son lives with us right now. He's working from home, so we usually spend lunch together.
You got a dry cleaning business behind you.
We
as
have the dry
previously
cleaning business
mentioned.
behind me. That's right. That's right. But a lot of other times, I do things like spend time at Valley View Casino and Hotel because I
You've
get to
been
host a
connected
lot
with
of
them a long time.
since 2005. You look behind me. There's a postcard they send out monthly about
25
Dave's
grand.
$250,000 weekend windfall.
Oh, 250.
You see that thing right over my head there?
Yeah.
Yeah. They said, and every once in a while they get a full page ad in the Union Tribune too. Well, I'm Dave, okay, and I give people the chance to win up to $250,000. So we do that once a month, and usually the second Friday of the month. Except we're doing it the third Friday of this month. We're doing it the 19th, and but I've been hosting events there, since 2005, and it's so much fun. Again, great people. You can't
Nice place.
go wrong? And the big question is, well, what's the difference? And the people at Valley View are very warm. They're very friendly. They like to get to know you, and I think that comes from the top. Because Bruce Howard is the general manager, and really that's the way he runs the place. He knows the name of all the people who work for him, and it's not the same. It's definitely not what you find in Vegas. So
No,
there's
no,
not people walking around with looking like the suits in the FBI. They're just, everybody there is very friendly.
It's a nice casino. We do like to go up there.
Food's great. The food is excellent.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong there.
What is today? Today is the Black and Blue opens up again by there. Their steakhouse opens again by the 11th. They've just remodeled it.
Nice. Got to make a cruise back up there.
Yeah.
So you mentioned KPBS earlier. You got a pledge drive coming up here. Am I right?
Starts Thursday, runs the next 7 days. And I don't know what the goal is, but I do know this, that Melissa May and I will be on the air asking for money and giving people reasons to contribute to KPBS. And we've done this, well, like I said, I've done this since 2005. And I want to thank Jorge, one of the former board ops at Kogo, for coming in one day and said, they're looking for a pledge drive host. I went, oh, okay. So I made an appointment, went over there and did my audition, and they said, okay, you're hired. Really. And it was a volunteer position at the time. But it was kind of nice. And the woman who I talked with, her name was Erica Body, and Erica was a producer there. Come to find out, I had worked with their father back in the 70s in Rochester. So
again,
small world.
Yep.
Small world. The irony of it all.
So if anybody wants to know, in a few days, they can go right here, kpbs.org, and donate, right?
The one thing about this is the people who work there are so passionate about what they do, and they really, really care. Are people going to get rich working for KPBS? Maybe. That's not why they do it. They do it because of the love for basically it's journalism and the shows they do.
Sure.
And I'm sure that because of financial situations, the pay scale changes, but the people there do it because they love it, and they do such a great job. Yeah. They do.
No, you are correct. So I'm going to finish this off by asking the big question. What have you been working on lately?
Well, I just signed on to narrate an audiobook. And the title of the book, well, there's a couple of different titles for the book, but let me see if I can, I've got to find it. The book in itself is 300 some odd pages, and there we go. Voiceovers, audiobooks. There you go. Blood Vendetta. And I guess it's the 5th in a series. Now, I'll tell you, when this is done, it's got it's not safe for work. Let's put it this way. So if you decide you like to listen to audiobooks, I will hope you listen to this one, but you'll listen to it with headphones on. And the writer, it's an interesting story about the guy who falls in love with a lady who's already kind of attached to another guy, but she's a boxer. And
I didn't see that coming.
I know, but there's a murder in there somewhere. I haven't gotten to the murder part, but it's right. I usually spend about 2-3 hours a week. It's got to be done by the end of June, and I'm better than halfway through it now.
Is it how does it compare with radio? I mean, it's a different,
totally different. This is acting. This is voice acting.
Yeah.
Because I have to. I'm playing 3 parts. So I'm playing the male subject, the female subject. And I'm just doing it from her vantage point with my regular voice. And there are other characters in there that I have to play their part. But it's different because if somebody says, well, I really got distracted by this lady. She was so good looking. And that's different from radio. It's different because you have to really put some emotion into it.
Sure. Yep.
So that's what I'm learning.
So when you're doing it, when you are recording, How much time do you put in? I mean, maybe it varies every day. Do you do an hour here and an hour there, or
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've not because I'm also what they call voice tracking, and everybody's voice tracking, boo. But I'm on a station in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a station in Binghamton, New York, and WRMI. This one here,
Dave Mason, WRMI.
which is a short wave station, which means you need either a short wave radio to pick it up, or you need a computer to pick it up on the internet. At WRMIlegends.com. It's an interesting organization because it's a combination of semi-religious music. We play one contemporary Christian song an hour, and we play lots of classic hits, anything from the 50s to the 80s. So I spend a lot of time doing that. Actually, that's probably a 3-hour job in itself because I do 5 hours once a week. But as far as the audiobook goes, at this point, when I've got spare time to get it done, I'll get it done. So, maybe an hour, 2-3 hours a week.
that's fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. And you got to work on inflection and
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
emphasis
I don't
and like
let me see if I can find I'm trying to find the script, so which is in here at the moment, and nope.
so safe to say you're not going to be able to read that book on your WRMI.
No. Well, if I bleep it, I will. But it's a fun project, and I don't know if anyone knows this. And if you're in radio, if you are interested in voiceovers, ACX.com is an Amazon website, and ACX they take auditions for audiobooks, and that's what I did. I just did the audition, sent it in. And the next thing I know, your audition has been accepted, and we're doing this. And again, it's not something I'm going to get rich for, but it's something that's going to look good on the resume. So,
And it's probably fun. It's fun doing something different.
it's very fun, and that's why someone like me does what I do, because every day is different. Whether you're doing a telethon for Helen Woodward or the Humane Society, whether you're doing a PBS pledge drive, whether you're playing hits on the radio, whether you're doing talk radio, which I did for 2 years on Kogo, it's all different, and it's all different aspects of the business that really we fell in love with. And I think that all of us, in some way, shape, or form, look at these people that are doing it and go, "Wow, I wonder if I could do that." Or there are a lot of people who say, "Hey, I can do that." But then there are other people who go, "I thought I could do that, but I don't want to do it." So just because, if you're playing music on the radio, you play the same songs over and over again, as you know that. And there's the big science behind that, and I won't get into that. But
Yeah.
you do get, I can't tell you how many times I've heard Bohemian Rhapsody
Sure.
over the last decade.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation right there.
Yeah. But it works. So we'll just leave it at that for now. But, but that's the one thing about being in the business, because what do you mean you can't pick your own songs? In some stations you can. That first station I worked for, we could do whatever we wanted, basically. But there are other stations that you got the big guy in the big office, in a lot of cases in some other city going, you can't do that.
Right.
You've got to do what we want you to do.
Well, I believe we have captured everything we intended to capture here. Unless you have anything else that you wanted to add.
I just, I still love what I do. I've been doing it again. I've been doing it. My first paying job was when I was 18 in 1966. My first fantasy of doing it was sitting in the basement in my home brewed radio station with a 100 milliwatt AM transmitter when I was I 12 years old, maybe 13. So I knew what I wanted to do back then. And in a way it was good. I'd like to apologize to all my teachers in school, because I pretty much had my career set and I didn't have to pay attention to you. Well, that was wrong. But I've just been very lucky. Very lucky.
Yeah.
And getting to America's finest city, and it is America's most expensive city, but that's Not my problem. Being here, being lucky, having a very happy, healthy family,
Sure.
having 3 incredible dogs, a great wife, and 2 great sons. I mean, what more could I ask for?
No, no, you are blessed. And I
You
do
bet.
know San Diego loves you and your contemporaries love you. And I think you've done it right. You did it your
Well,
way.
I just want to keep on doing it. So until I
Yep.
get it right.
No, it shows. All
So
right,
there,
buddy.
that's all
Well,
there is.
I'm going to put a wrap on this.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you,
you
Joe. I
very much for.
appreciate the time.
Yeah, no. Glad we were able to get you on here. And if you ever need to come back on again, want to come back on again, look me up and we will make that happen.
It's a deal. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Have yourself a good day.
You too.
Bye now.